Welcome to this week's JJ and Hootie show here on all your favorite platforms. We wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as we get into the latter parts of December. Uh, we appreciate you tuning in, uh, whatever platform you're on, particularly on YouTube, which we're trying to build an audience there. So share and like that and hit the subscribe button and help us grow. Jeff Jones and myself, yours truly, Jerry Ratcliffe, will be talking Virginia hoops and a little bit of college basketball today. Um, we've had some great guests over the past several weeks lined up by JJ, and if you've missed any of those, they're archived on my website. You can go back and look at all of them. We had the four Kentuckians. We had Jimmy Miller last week. It was a lot of fun. And Coach Dave Odom a few weeks ago. So if you missed those, check them out. I think you'll really enjoy them if you're a Virginia fan or a college basketball fan. And it's well worth your time to visit those and give us some feedback. Tell us what you like and who else you'd like to see as a guest on our show. JJ, happy holidays to you. I hope everything's going well.
Everything's good, Jerry. We've been having some cold weather here. We're not quite used to the cold as much as you are in Charlottesville. You know, there's a little bit of a temperature difference there, but you know the crazy thing about being here in Norfolk is if you don't like the weather, all you got to do is wait 30 minutes because it's probably changing.
Sort of like Florida, huh? It'll change pretty soon. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't change much here. The last couple of days have been not too bad. It's been in the 50s, but a few days before that was brutal. It was down to I think 1 degree one night, so
Wow.
it's pretty wretched. Um, we're at an interesting time of the season for Virginia basketball and other schools too. The Cavaliers have been on exam break. It'll be 11 days between games. Uh, the last couple of games they had were down in Charlotte against Dayton, a very impressive win against the Flyers, 86 to 73. It was even more lopsided than that until late in the game, and then they came back home and really whomped Maryland Eastern Shore 84 to 60, and now they're prepping to get restarted on Saturday night, or I think it's a 6 o'clock start against Maryland, the old familiar ACC foe that has now been in the Big Ten for quite some time. But that'll be an interesting game. We'll get to that in a minute. But Virginia, here they are, JJ, 9-1. Um, I don't know if people expected them to get off to such a great start because they've had some pretty good competition with Northwestern and Butler and Texas and Dayton. None of those were home games, and they fared pretty well. And here they are. They stand number 21 in the net rankings, which is pretty good. I think they were up to 15 a week ago, and I still haven't figured out how all that fluctuates the way it does. Maybe you have a clearer understanding than I do, but um, Butler is number 46. Texas is number 51. Maryland coming to town Saturday is number 163. I think they're 6-5 on the season, but they played a bunch of top 20 teams, and I thought I thought just doing that might help their net ranking, but I guess I don't know. Again, I don't clearly understand the net rankings, and I'm not sure who does.
Well, at this point, quite honestly, Jerry, for you and anybody else, uh, forget about the net rankings. That it means nothing because there's not enough data in it. The way it's comprised, you need a lot more information in before it can give you anything accurate out. So I would just say just to ignore it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
it's
what I'd like to do.
it really is a waste of time in terms of comparing teams and that kind of thing. I'm guessing, that Ryan is probably, with a 9-1 record, he probably feels good about that. To be honest, I would have, if forced, I would have predicted, uh, Virginia to go undefeated,
Really? Wow.
through this stretch. They played some good competition, not elite. Certainly losing to Butler is not a bad loss by any stretch.
Right.
Um, but I think they let that one go. I don't think they played their best, and I think Butler was ready to play and played a great game. I think playing neutral site against Dayton, before the season started, I would have said the hardest game would have been Texas at Texas.
Yeah.
Obviously, Texas might not be quite as good as they've been in the last several years right now, but it's an SEC opponent and playing them on their home court, so that's always nice to get that win. Um, I think with Virginia, Ryan has to be happy with kind of how they're playing. I think there are definitely some concerns taking care of the basketball. They get a lot of assists, but there's been games where they've just turned the ball over just way too many times. You mentioned the Dayton game. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a blowout, and it was only because it wasn't their defense. It wasn't, I mean, they shot the heck out of the basketball. It was the turnovers that allowed Dayton to get back in the game. Even if you go back to the Villanova the exhibition game, they had that one pretty handily wrapped up, and they had some ball handling lapses, and Villanova had a chance to get back in that thing and make it interesting. So I think they're going to want to shore that up before they get into conference play. The other area that I would say, is the defensive rebounding. At times it's been very good and it's allowed them to get out in transition, but at other times, even against Queens College in the first half, they gave up some second chance opportunities. And what really hurts is, you get that offensive rebound, and Virginia does exactly this same thing with their rebounds. It's not get a rebound and muscle the thing back in. Oftentimes, it's get that offensive rebound and kick it immediately out to the 3-point line. That's a great time for teams that really look to shoot the three, those unsettled situations. That's a great time to get open looks beyond the 3-point line. There's things that Ryan is going to want to do. Yes, they obviously 2 more games before Christmas. They want to be able to play and beat Maryland and play well. Obviously, American University for the second straight year on the 22nd of December. Virginia is going to be playing American, and it looks like American is having another good year. They won the Patriot League last year. Quite honestly, I was at the game a year ago, and I thought that if the officials had let American, they might have won the game. The officials made some crucial calls down the stretch that allowed Virginia to get that win. But it'll be another. Again, it's not a top 20 challenge, but it's a good mid-major, low-major team coming in that would love to be able to knock Virginia off. So Coach Odom and company will have to be ready there. But it is a time, and you and I talked about this, where it's imperative, I think, for teams with aspirations, for good teams, to make improvement. This isn't time just to go out there and just win. You got to see the bigger picture. And now that exams are over, now that nobody's on campus, and you're kind of wrapping up your non-conference schedule, there's a lot that can be done and a lot of improvement that can be made before things really get cranking up again. And I know Ryan's looking to do that. I can tell you in conversations with him, there's some wrinkles that people haven't seen and might not see for another couple weeks. But teams, coaches are looking to add to. You're not standing pat. You're always staying ahead of the scouting. And especially in this day and age when there's the scouting is so advanced, because everything is available. You can see it, you can break it down, you can prepare. So you want to stay ahead of the scouting reports. So that means, what can you do defensively? Can you add, little things? And it might look the same to the naked eye, but when you really look, there might be a twist here and there offensively that, it initially it looks exactly the same, but then there's this different option, and they give you a different look. So it's a constant. You're kind of adding to the inventory. This is a great time to do that because you can look back in that 11-day break that they've had. The coaches, they're still working, even though the players, they might have some days off because of exams and all that kind of stuff. The coaches are working and they're saying, okay, how can we add to, how can we change some things? How can we, kind of fine tune what we've done up to this point?
I think that's fascinating because I think the casual observer probably doesn't, like you say, notice that, uh, and it definitely helps going into a game where somebody that doesn't play you regularly, like in a conference game, or even maybe somebody that is a conference opponent that is expecting one look and then they get something else, and so they're not really ready for that, and they have to make adjustments to it. That's very insightful, I think.
For example, like how do Ryan's got great depth, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and and, and the two big 7-footers, they're similar in that they block shots, but they're agile, they're mobile. They can step out and they can shoot the three. They've got guards and wings that have shown the ability at different times to score the ball in bunches. Um,
Right.
but where they're different is that Testa Ritter um, and Devin Tillis, right? That's a really great combination there at the four. That you can play one and the other, but they're very different. Tess is more of an offensive threat, particularly in the low block. Tillis is more of a glue guy. To me, both are good passers, but Tillis is kind of he makes things, whether he's playing the three or the four, he just kind of make things work better. And in a sense, he's got some similarities maybe to Jason Williford back in the day,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know. But when Tillis is in there, you're probably not looking to really create opportunities for him to post up in the low block. But DeRitter, even though he can drive the ball and he's at times shot it well from three, he's been dominant. If people try to play him one-on-one in the low block, that's a pretty good option. So how do you take advantage of that? And then if there's a substitution, then all of a sudden, are you going to try to play the same way, or are you going to try to do something else? So again, these are things that Ryan and his staff gets to tinker with, and again have some different looks, but have a bigger inventory of things that they can go to when they find themselves in a battle or a close game.
It seems like to me that uh, it, maybe it's just a look in his eye or something, but sometimes if you focus on DeRitter and he has the ball in his hands, it just looks like he's not going to be denied. He's going to find a way to score or make you foul him, or something's going to happen. I mean, he just looks like a man on a mission when he gets the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he's older. He's played against grown men
Yeah,
for a couple years now, and so not only is he big like that, but he knows how to use it. He's not trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
He's been doing this, and this is a little bit different opportunity for him and a chance for growth this year because overseas uh, he maybe wasn't the focal part of the offense over there the way he is now. But he is determined, and he's skilled. He's got finesse, but more than anything, he's a bull in a china shop. He combines that skill with that big body and strength, and it's a tough matchup. And when you've got teammates that can play around the perimeter, um, including the big guys, uh, that forces you to make decisions. How are you going to dig it out? Are you going to flex into the post? Which means you're helping, but you're not really leaving your man and doubling. Are you going to come from the weak side or from the baseline and an actual double? And when stuff like that happens, it's a pick your poison. It becomes a chess match between coaches. Are they going to come from different spots on the floor? Or are they going to have, does somebody have a guy that they think is good enough to match up with DeRidder one on one? The great thing is, he's a very good passer out of the low post.
Yeah.
Um, he's not like Junior Burrow was his freshman year when Junior had exactly one assist that year. We teased Junior. I don't know if he had any uh, astronomy classes, but we teased Junior about being the black hole. The black hole where if something goes in, matter disappears.
Exactly.
We teased Junior and said, when the ball goes inside, it disappears. It's not. He became much better, but that first year. But Tess is willing. He'll kick it out. Um, but if you stay, he'll punish you inside.
Yeah, that's got to be a real problem for other coaches trying to figure out the equation on how to negate him. And like you said, he's so dangerous even with the ball in his hands because he's been so good at getting it, dishing it off inside the paint to one of the bigger guys or kicking it back out. So
And it's funny. The good teams all have somebody like that, right?
yeah, right.
North Carolina has gosh, is it Wilson, the freshman?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh man, is he good? I had a chance to see him the last week or so. I mean, he shoots it, but if he gets you inside, when I say inside, a lot of these guys, it's not like they're posting up in the paint. They're posting up at, you know, 14, 15 feet
Right.
and turn it into a post. And, he can go in there, he'll kick it out. They got Visar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. They're the big guy that transferred from Arizona. They got him. Duke has a Boozer that can score a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Having one of those versatile kind of bigs that can play inside as well as outside and are good and willing passers, that enhances everybody. It just makes everybody better, and it's a dream for a coach to have a player like that because you've just got more options. When you can when you can do that and you can force the other team's hand one way or another.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch as this team continues to develop. He seems like he's bringing them along at just the right pace so far, just incrementally.
It's funny, how you say that, and I think people think that he's bringing them along. I wish it was as easy as that.
Yeah,
And really, the team kind of dictates it, right? I mean, every coach would like to, bring him along and make constant, progress, and but sometimes the team or pieces, aren't ready, and they don't always get ready at the same at the same rate. But I think with Ryan is you've seen most of his guys, and then the collective. it's been gradual. It's been little by little, but they have come along well. And certainly give credit to Ryan. I'm not trying to say that,
Sure.
but it doesn't always work. And I now might be as good a time as any to bring up the NC State situation that I mentioned to you. I saw, and people can go online and look up, and Will Wade's, the NC State coach, post game press conference last night. They beat somebody by 36 points, and he was asked a question about how his team was coming along, and he went on a rant that I loved. I mean, everything he said, I was like, oh wow, this is right on, and probably every coach has been there. And he was frustrated, talking about his team's toughness, talking about their sense of urgency and attention to detail. Now, this is a team, again, he brought a lot of guys in, just like Ryan and so many others. Um, they were highly rated, guys that came in, very talented group.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, for them, we're talking about bringing a team along. It hasn't worked. It hasn't gone as smoothly, or maybe the way as planned for NC State as it has from Virginia. That doesn't mean NC State's not going to get there,
Yeah.
but Will Wade. I won't go through everything he said, but man, he says some good stuff, and I don't know if he was just venting, or whether he was trying to send a message through the media. Which you don't want to do that too much, but sometimes it can be effective to kind of challenge the players. But I think there's coaches all over the country that kind of feel that way. Now, I wouldn't think that I don't know, but I wouldn't think that Ryan feels that way. I think he feels positive about his team. Not that they don't have clear areas to improve, but they've made that gradual progress. But there's lots of other programs, lots of other coaches that are probably pulling their hair out and not sleeping at night, trying to push the right buttons to get the players to buy into, to be willing to sacrifice, or maybe play a little bit harder, a little bit more focused on the defensive end, whatever it may be. But for people that want to think about what kind of the transition that this time of the year, I think that Will Wade rant is a good one to take a look at. He said, he used the quote, kindergarten's over, basically meaning this non-conference stuff, this is over, and now stuff gets real.
Right.
And we used to say, okay, it's big boy basketball, right? Is none of this, enough of this stuff. Now's the time to grow up, man up, and really start playing. And the stakes are higher, and it's time to start doing a lot more. There's an improvement arc as you go through the season,
Yeah.
and from start to finish. So you're always trying to to improve and refine and all of that. But the as I said, the stakes are higher, and so tighten up the shorts and get out there, and it's time to get the knees bloodied. It's starting to making winning plays, not making the same mistakes, having that sense of urgency, to do the right thing, not just kind of on your schedule, but you got to start doing it. You got to do it now, right? And you got to do it over and over and over and over again. That's what good players do. That's what good teams do. And the teams that can do those things more and better, more consistently and better, are the ones that will pull away from the pack, and establish themselves, I guess, first as NCAA tournament teams, second as can they challenge for the Final Four of the national championship?
Hmm. What happens is there a point for some coaches when it just doesn't click and the players don't respond, or maybe they're not as good as maybe a coach thought they were, and it just doesn't work. Does a coach does there come to a coach come to a point where he has to accept that, or does he just keep trying to bring out the get something out of them that maybe they don't have?
No, I mean, I mean, any coach worth his salt isn't just going to accept it. You keep
Right.
trying. I mean, yes, that happens. I think all the time, and on the national level, you can find teams, and they're the ones that the prognosticators and the so-called experts are they're calling out people for underachieving. But yeah, the coach isn't going to just kind of throw their hands up. I mean, they might sometimes feel like doing that, but you're going to look. It might be changes in lineups. You might if you can't figure it out defensively, um, you might say we're just not a good man-to-man team, and you might look to play some zone out of
Mhm.
desperation. Now, this also is a time where you might play some zone to just be able to give it a different look, or to be able to get through some foul difficulty times, and that kind of thing. But there are certainly teams that Old Dominion has been one this year. They're not they're not they've really struggled defensively, and they've given up too many points and too many buckets, and all that kind of good stuff. The last couple weeks they've been throwing in some zone, and I think it's desperation maybe is too strong a term, but it's like looking at a situation and saying we're just not good at this. So that's the coach's job. The coach's job isn't just when things are going good. When
Right.
things are going bad, is you're looking for answers, right? That's why you get the big bucks. You're looking for, is it personnel? Is it is it the scheme? What happens? I think a lot of time is somewhere in between. It's the effort, right?
Mhm.
I think more often than scheme or anything else, it's just the effort, and the players aren't playing hard enough. They're not desperate enough. They're not uh, focused enough. They don't understand really what it takes to win. Winning is hard. If winning was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there's no guarantee. You can play as hard. You can give it that's the price of entry. That doesn't guarantee, just because you play hard
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're going to win. But that should be a non-negotiable, and at least that gives you a chance.
Yeah. That's what I kind of thought. Well, Maryland comes to town Saturday night. Again, I think they're 6-5. They've played a bunch of top 20 teams. I think four or five, and I think they've lost most of those games. But Buzz Williams coming back to town for the second year in a row. He came here with Texas A&M last year, and I thought that was going to be a really tight game, and Virginia ended up blowing them out. Um, I don't know if you ever went up against Buzz or not,
No.
but it's interesting renewing that rivalry. Used to be a heated rivalry, and I'm sure there's still no love lost between the programs, even though they've distanced themselves being in different conferences. But a chance, it's a chance for a pretty good win, I think, on Saturday night against the Terps.
Yeah, yeah. At the very least, if Virginia can win that, You're getting the the Big Ten Quad One, because Maryland's going to play Michigan State, and they're going to play Purdue, and they're going to play Illinois, all of which are in the top 10 ish,
Yeah.
right? And so all of those Quad Ones that Maryland's going to play, now all of a sudden, that looks good for Virginia. Then, and again, we talk about the net and about getting more data in there. If Virginia can find a way to beat Maryland, as Maryland goes in and starts getting more and more and more of those quad ones, their numbers are going to improve. There's no way that I see Maryland uh, finishing the year at like 163. I think something you said something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're 163 right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, so they're going to move up there. So it's crazy how all the numbers work together, but that's why you play a team like Maryland. But Buzz is an excellent coach. I think they've had some injuries and they're back healthy again. They gave Michigan a pretty good game up in College Park.
They
Uh,
led the first half, right?
yeah, last week. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Virginia's going to win. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
Virginia's going
absolutely.
to have to come out
Yeah.
and really compete. Buzz is going to have his team ready. They're going to be physical. I'm not familiar with the names of their players, but they've got a little fire plug guard that when he gets it going, he takes some crazy shots, some tough shots, but he can kind of fill it up a little bit. Had a big center that just against Michigan's big, huge front line, did some damage on the offensive glass. So Virginia's going to have to be ready and play well. And if they can finish up, with Maryland and then American, obviously, which will be a different kind of a challenge. But if they can finish up at 11-1, 12-1, whatever it might be, that they can feel pretty good about themselves going into the next the next season, so to speak. You
Right.
always try to break down the season in multiple segments, and conference play would be the second, uh, the second segment, the second season. But they're going to have to, they're going to have to be ready. Maryland's going to be physical. Buzz's teams always at Texas A&M. I mean, they were just rugged on the offensive glass. I mean, they had a little guard, and he shot it a lot. And he scored a lot of points, but he'd put it up there, and those big strong guys that he had on the roster would just go and get it, and
Yeah.
then they always play defense. So, if I don't know, but if that's the same formula that they have at Maryland, it's going to be one of those blue collar games.
Mhm.
It might not be the prettiest game, but better bring your hard hat, because it's not going to be the faint of heart out there on the court.
Seemed like that's the way it was when he was at Virginia Tech as well. But yeah, no question about it. I know you had some intense battles with Maryland and against Gary Williams, and back in when you started out as Virginia's coach. That was always a heated rivalry, and I don't know what it is about Virginia fans getting on Buzz for his sweating, but I know Gary Williams used to do that, and it reminded me of a story the other day. I can't remember if you told me this or somebody told me on your staff told you about this. The year that Gary wasn't able to finish the season, and one of his assistants took over, and apparently this guy sweated much worse than any of these
Well,
guys. I
so okay, so I,
think
I
you
don't
remember
remember the
that story.
season. I don't remember the season. What that was, but when
Yeah,
you started talking about sweating, I mean, I knew a minute. It's Billy Hahn, and Billy's since
yeah.
passed. But Billy was a really good friend of mine, and Billy and Jimmy Patsos too. Jimmy was another assistant coach, and he 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 was a sweater too. But Billy is who you're talking about, and you are 100% correct. I mean, Billy was the best, but yeah, he could he could sweat with the best of them.
The story went, and again, I don't know if you told us this or somebody else did on your staff, but supposedly in the pregame handshake, you walked up to him and said, "So, Billy, just when is it you start sweating?"
No, that wasn't me. That
It
wasn't
wasn't
me.
you.
No,
That was
like I
the
said,
story
Billy and I
about
were
you.
good friends. We there would have been a lot more. What would I say? Not flowery. Uh, uh, trash talk before the game. We would have been talking about his sweating,
Yeah.
but no, all good guys. And recently, I saw some comments by Gary Williams. Since you bring it up about how it's just not the same. I think personally, the ACC misses Maryland. Right? I think
Yeah. I think
Maryland
the Maryland misses the
Maryland
ACC
misses
worse.
the ACC, but
Yeah.
that's a perfect example of uh, looks like I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix this here. It looks like I'm on low power, so
That's
I
okay.
I can't get it to. Um, but it looks like well, Maryland's done it for financial reasons, um, and I'm going to step off and keep talking for just a second, Jerry.
That's fine.
All right. Uh, for financial reasons, it's been a boon for Maryland, but um, I don't know that I don't know that the change for the competitive value of uh, uh, of their teams that move has necessarily been. I don't see them. Uh, that they've gotten any better in football. I mean, they're
Oh,
kind of a
probably worse, actually.
yeah, kind of an also ran in the Big Ten, and basketball has had some good years, but it's not like it was under Gary. So it's just obviously I'm old school, and I miss the old ACC myself, and um, so it's good as you said to renew um, that rivalry.
Yeah, I know a lot of Maryland fans that they're still ACC fans because they grew up, with that tradition and uh, the rivalries and all that sort of thing. And they still, if they have their choice, other than, if Maryland's not playing, they'll watch an ACC game rather than a Big Ten game because that's where their heart is, it's where their interest is. So I think Maryland lost a lot. From their fan base, just in the fact that, I mean, how do you get excited about Maryland Northwestern and Maryland Rutgers and Maryland Nebraska, et cetera?
Well, I would bet money that Maryland fans probably still hate North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia more than they do
Yeah,
whoever else
yeah,
in the Big Ten.
exactly. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Um, I don't know how you could ever get that out of your system.
Well, I think as time passes and the the fans get older and kind of generations, you might get past that, but it's not there yet for sure.
Yeah. Um, well, you know, um, Virginia after Maryland, and you said they play American, your old school that you used to coach at. Then they step into conference play, and the opener is New Year's Eve down at Virginia Tech in an afternoon game, and then they come home against NC State January 3rd, which is uh, interesting, 11 a.m. tip off. Uh, don't remember too many of those. And then they come home and play Cal and Stanford January 7th and 10th. And then they go to Louisville. which is no easy task. And then they travel to SMU. So and then I think they go to well, they come home against Carolina, but that's a pretty rough stretch. SMU on the road, Louisville on the road, NC State on the road, Virginia Tech on the road. Four of the first six ACC games.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if they're doing to Ryan what Fred Bearcat did to me my first year.
I remember the trip from hell. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's when Fred said, "Oh, everybody will have to do it. You're just the first one." And what we played Thursday night on I forget where it was
I think it was
at, at, at
Wake Forest, maybe.
I thought Wake was one of the weekend games. Anyway, we
Yeah.
played an ACC game down in North Carolina on Thursday night. Then we played Saturday afternoon, and then or Saturday night maybe, and then Sunday afternoon. It was three games in 4 days. It was really less than 4 days because of the sequence of the actual game times.
Yeah.
We actually had John Crotty, and we played well. Maybe we won one of those games, but um, John Crotty was so dehydrated that when we were Saturday night after that game, um, Ethan Saliba was administering IVs in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
you know, but the ACC, Fred Bearcat was the assistant commissioner at the time. They set us out to fail. I mean, and they just lied to us that somebody else would be doing it the next year. It never happened again. It shouldn't have happened to us. And maybe they're indoctrinating Ryan the same way. But that sounds like a pretty crazy schedule to start things off. The ACC is notably better this year. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Virginia's much better. I think Virginia's a tournament team. I think NC State could be, but they're definitely better. You've got North Carolina. Obviously, you've got Duke and Louisville
Yeah.
that are nationally recognized at this point. I've watched Clemson. Clemson's going to be good. Miami's off to a. I haven't seen them, but there's something like 9-1. I mean, they've got a good record. Syracuse is better. I don't know that they're necessarily good. I know they're very young. Um, who else? Wake Forest is better. I mean,
Yeah.
Wake Forest has had some really good performances. Florida State, jury's still out on them. Um,
Georgia
Georgia
Tech
Tech,
seems to be
they
struggling.
haven't looked great. Boston College hasn't looked great, but in general, and I have no idea about Cal and Stanford.
It's so hard to
SMU,
figure
yeah,
them out.
yeah. As SMU, I think is good. They might not be quite as good as they were last year, but you never know. So it'll be a tougher road just in general. But to start out that stretch, 4 out of 6 on the road, as you said, in tough places, uh, that'll be interesting, and it'll be a great test, for Ryan and his team.
Yeah, no question. Um, Anybody that you look to, you think might make a jump on this roster as we schmooze into ACC play? Anybody that's going to jump leaps and bounds, or you think they're all just coming along the way we kind of expected them to?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's had kind of their moments, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Malik's had some games where he's really scored the basketball. Obviously, Jakari has been phenomenal the last couple times out. I bet he would have wished that they just kept playing right on through and
Absolutely.
ridden that hot streak. I mean, he was on one of those kind of Richard Morgan-esque hot streaks. The
Curtis
good
Staples, right?
Yeah, the good thing about Jakari is that Richard would just get hot to where he could make anything, and it seemed like he would shoot himself right out of the hot streak though, because he started just throwing up crazy shots, and the degree of difficulty got more and more. That eventually, he had to come, crashing back down to earth. But Jakari, his shot selection has been terrific. Even when everything was going, he wasn't forcing it. He wasn't. You know, he you didn't see any heat checks, from him.
Right.
But you know, uh, Chance has. I mean, he's been outstanding. Up to this point.
Yeah.
Uh, who else? So the two big guys we've talked about Tess a lot. I think uh, uh, Devin Tillis will just kind of keep getting better. Obviously he missed a lot of time with that knee surgery, but as he gets more and more comfortable, you can look for good things from him. The two guys I could see, I don't know, to the degree that you were talking about, but Sam, is it Lewis?
Sam Lewis and
Sam,
Dallin
Sam
Hall.
Lewis. I mean, he's shown the ability to, to score the ball.
Yeah.
As his confidence grows, I think he's got more than that maybe, he can contribute. And Dallin's confidence, shooting the ball. I've seen him. He's a winner. I, for reasons I won't get into right now, but it's a long story. But I had an opportunity to watch him kind of pretty closely last year. That BYU team. Dallin is a winner. He's a tough kid, and I think he, as the season goes on and things, the stakes are higher and tougher and all that. I think we'll see Dallin kind of step up to the challenge. So that's all good. But there's no one guy that I would say is going to like come out of nowhere and say, wow,
Yeah.
I think they've all progressed kind of at a similar pace. Um, yeah,
Yeah. You talking about Richard a while ago. I'll still never forget that night at U all when Virginia knocked off North Carolina the way they did and uh, just routed the Tar Heels. I think they were number one or number two in the nation. And Richard was unconscious, scored, I think, 39 points in that
yeah,
game. And
yeah.
he came running by press row a couple of times after making back-to-back threes, just laughing. And myself and a couple of the guys were sitting there, and he was just laughing. And he raised up his fingers like six shooters and went. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Dickie Moe. That was when Coach Holland had been in the hospital,
Yeah,
and Dave Odom had taken over. It ended up being two games. The first one, I think it was first, was in Richmond against Virginia Tech. And they had Bimbo Coles, and that was a shootout. Richard had another great game. We scored back to back. In back to back games, we scored over 100. First against Virginia Tech, then against North Carolina. And, the style was very different than when Coach Holland, I mean, Coach Odom just kind of let the guys go.
yeah,
And it was a good stretch with your leader being out, but uh, uh, yeah, Richard, he gosh, he could get it going. He could get it going. The problem was he just could, as I said earlier, he just couldn't sustain it.
excuse me. Yeah, it's hard to
Dickie Mo.
sustain that. Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Well, let's mention we have to mention Old Dominion here. They're coming off a big day in Old Dominion sports for the calendar year yesterday. Uh,
It was a good day to be a Monarch yesterday. In the afternoon, down at the Cure Bowl in Orlando, the ODU football team beat South Florida. It was good game. It was
that's a
great
good
for
win.
ODU.
South Florida's pretty good.
South Florida's pretty good. Both
Yeah.
teams quarterbacks uh, during the regular season, opted out. They're going in the transfer portal. Um, but Old Dominion's backup did a great job, and they won, and that was win number 10 for Ricky Ronnie and his team. So that was big for Old Dominion, and then immediately after 8 o'clock tip off to so that they could space it out a little bit. ODU beat James Madison, and James Madison has had our number for about 5 years. The losing streak had gone to nine,
Wow.
and so getting that win last night. I mean, number one, ODU was desperate for a win against anybody.
Yeah.
I think we had lost five in a row leading up to that. But then, beating the in-state rival, it was a Sun Belt, game as well. And Mike's team, looked good doing it. Looked like they've maybe made some improvements defensively. And I mentioned earlier, they're playing some zone now. They've been really bad defensively, but the zone uh, kind of it's not exclusive zone for them, but allows them to change things up and give a different look, and which is important, so because otherwise, some teams have just picked their man-to-man defense apart. So, but a good day all in all for ODU.
All right. Good day for the Monarchs. Hopefully, a good day for the Wahoos this coming weekend and beyond. And hopefully, a good day and good holiday season for all our viewers and listeners out there. And again, we appreciate you tuning in and spread the news. We're getting a larger audience each week, and we appreciate you giving us some of your time. We know you have a lot of choices, and we appreciate it. So for JJ and myself, uh, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you next week. JJ, see you soon.
Absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody.